Alright, go ahead and drop your exhaust. That's mine right there. And then go ahead and take these heat shields off right here so you can see your drive shaft. And depending on what diff you're doing, if you're swapping in a different diff, it'll all be the same. Like a 335 with a, if you're swapping like a welded 335 diff for a 335 diff, it should be the same, but this connection right here, you'll have to twist it off. I'll show you the 328 diff in a sec. It's different, so for that reason I'm swapping the whole drive shaft. And then also the drive shaft on the 335 is beefier, like the splines are a lot thicker where the center parts connect under the heat shield. So I'll show you guys that thing in a sec too, but everything else is the same. Okay, once you got your heat shield off, the whole drive shaft is going to be exposed. And then you can see this connection right here. The lighting is good. I'll move a little bit. This connection right here is like the whole drive shaft like screws on to pretty much the back of this diff. And the connection on the 328 one is a 4 bolt, so it's got like, it's pretty much the same thing as what the Guibo is. The Guibo is 3 bolts, but this one will have 4. So, but yeah, it's super simple. All you gotta do is take apart all of this. Pretty sure these, yeah, so these 2 bolts back here are 18s, and then there's one on the subframe right here. This one's probably a 21 or 22. Let me take a look. Yeah, this one's a 21. And then all of your axle bolts are going to be a, pretty sure it's an E12. Let's go ahead and look. Yeah, it's an E12, so it's kind of hard to get on there with the boot, but you gotta just push the boot up a little bit to get your thing on. And with the E12s, with these, be sure that this is on there snug, or else you're gonna strip that bitty, if you know what I'm saying. Anyways, so what I'm gonna do is leave this connected. I'm not gonna touch this at all. I'm just gonna leave this all one piece pretty much forever. I'm gonna disconnect this center piece right there, which I believe are 17s, maybe 16s. And then that part will pull out of the front half of the drive shaft. I'm gonna pull out all of the main chassis bolts on the diff, and it's gonna sag down a little bit, and then I'll pull the axle bolts as well. So pretty much just undo all that stuff and your diff's gonna pop out. So oops. there's the back half. So take a look at this. Here's the front half of a 328i drive shaft. This is a 335. This is way bigger. This thing doesn't even come close to fitting in right there. This is used, so I guess it got that little guide bearing or something, but yeah, this thing is a lot beefier. And my car doesn't make like a ton of power, so it's not like I need all of this right now. After it makes more power, then we'll swap this thing back in. See, look, this is actually for an E92, which is the coupe, and then it fits my car, the sedan. So I'm sure it's not completely in all the way, but she drives. Alright, so off camera, I went ahead and put the 328i front half of the shaft in the car, attached to the guibo on the rear of the 335 transmission. So the guibo part on this is a 335 shaft. So this whole drive shaft, this whole rear diff drive shaft is from an E92. And then this is the 308 diff. So there was a small difference in the guibo part of where it connects, the 3 bolts. So on the 328i transmission, the bolts are actually in a little bit more. They're in about a 1/4 inch. These are further out. I don't know if that makes it, you know, more like stronger. I feel like if it's closer in, there will be so yeah, this part is further out because it, you know, the 335 makes more power, obviously. So everything is beefier pretty much in the drive shaft. You can see right here the difference between the 328 input shaft and the 335 input shaft. You know, it was the same thing on the manual transmission. I have a 328 clutch disc that takes a smaller spline like that, and it is nowhere near fitting on the 335 input shaft on the front of the transmission. So the clutch is beefier, the whole drivetrain is beefier. And since my car isn't making like a ton of power, I went ahead and just took a grinder and I cut this part straight up so that I could put a bolt on the 328 drive shaft in here. And the only reason I did this is because this is what aligns it. There's the input shaft right here, where this sits on the guibo is the same on the 335 and 328. So when I put the 328 one on there, it sat flush. You know, it went in, the bolt holes just didn't line up. So I pretty much just made the bolt holes line up, bolted it in there. I would not recommend doing that if your car makes like over 400 horsepower. I'm sure, because since I cut this top part off, I'm sure it like reduces some structural integrity. So I would not recommend doing that. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get this 328i rear drive shaft and differential in. And here's the difference between the connections as well. Right here we have the 335 connection, so this pretty much like screws on to the back of this, and then has like a locking nut. And then this has 4 bolts. I replaced them with these new bolts just because I wanted to fresh things up, and one of the bolts I had on here was not looking too good, so I just went ahead and got some new ones. I'm gonna tighten it up when it's in the car. But yeah, you can see here this diff, we got a bunch of RTD on it, or RTV, and that's because we welded this diff. So this diff does not move either way. It just, both of it's locked up, so it all spins. And then this one is the most open a diff could possibly get, honestly. Like, I could twist them like reverse from each other, no problem. So yeah, the car is gonna, I really like the way, you know, I canyon drive this car a lot and drift, but I really like the way the welded diff feels, even like just driving around. At first I thought it wasn't going to be very streetable, but it is very streetable. Like, depending on the surface of the ground and what tires you have on, you know, it barely squeaks, it barely skips when you do tight turns. The car just feels way more stable on acceleration. It's just hard to explain, but you'd have to feel it yourself. All right, so the new diff and drive shaft is in. Welded diff. So this is going to be the test drive. I'm running a 500 tread wear all season tire in the rear. It's a 225, I think 225/40 18. And then in the front we've got the Falcon Azenis RT615. That is a 240 or a 245/40 18. So the fronts are super sticky. My alignment is, it's about -2.5 camber in the front, and then -2 in the rear. So right off the bat, my drive shaft is pretty loud. I can hear the diff. It's like a metally kind of rotating sound. Alright, we've got a yellow light here. We'll show you how short the gears are right here. Alright, just gonna do a quick 0 to 60. There's 60 right there. A lot of traffic out right now, but it's just still road. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. Sneak peek into the next episode. Go to the track with the